Wife for coming in the last episode that we had. She got so many alphabets behind her lettering, it don't make sense. But what I like about her, she's not afraid to tell the truth, even though she did work for a system that was corrupt and everything else. And why I'm saying is because they got a lot of people with all kind of alphabets behind their letter, but refuse to say because of the system got them programmed now. And part of that is our culture. You know, to all those people who come from nothing and made something and not giving it back, then you got a bigger problem than anything because you done forgot where you came from. And that's what culture is, giving back. If you don't understand the definition of culture, it's an integrated pattern of a human knowledge, belief, and behavior that depends on man's capacity for learning and transmitting knowledge to succeeding generation, meaning that if you know something, say it. If you know something and somebody don't know it, then you should be able to explain it to them. That way they could understand it better. But lately we haven't been doing this. We've been getting caught up in this systematic place that tearing us apart.
Yes, and Mr. Kevin, well-renowned and has definitely done his research. And like I've stated before, it's a live segment. And you could reach us at 337-366-8951. Now, Mr. Kevin, like particularly within Louisiana, you know, Louisiana is mixed up with a whole lot of culture, but
That's segregated.
Yes, yes. One in particular where we mix with the French, the Irish, Indigenous Americans, Africans. They like to say, a lot of people like to say that everybody from Southwest Louisiana are Cajuns, which is a lie. If you know your history behind Cajun, you would understand that Cajuns were the white folks that was kicked out of Nova Scotia, Canada. They were the criminals, the rapists, the murderers, and everything. And by them being kicked out of Nova Scotia, Canada, they came here to Louisiana, lived in the bayou, and the New Maroons, which was the black Africans, they taught them how to live and how to cook, how to, do hygiene and everything. So that in itself is like, a wide array of information that we all need to know. Now, another part of the culture that they would like to call us is like Creole. If you know the history behind Creole, you wouldn't want to be called a Creole for the simple fact that the Creole were the slaves that were raped by by their owners, by their masters. So when you know, and they were the ones that were either the high yellow, the light ones. They were the ones that were the good kind of slaves that worked within the kitchen, worked in the bed, a lot of things. So when we talk about culture, you need to understand exactly where you come from. I know from doing shows with you, Mr. Kevin, you don't consider yourself an
African American.
Right. And I consider myself an African American.
But you weren't born in Africa.
And I don't need to be born in Africa to consider myself an African American. I have all of the traits. This is where civilization started from. This is where my ancestors come from, and I'm proud of it. But you have
do
a
you
different.
hunt and kill animals with spears and all that?
Okay, like when you do know your history, you know that we were the creators of civilization. You understand that, we brought life to everybody that's on the earth. We brought life to everybody that's on the earth.
We brought labor to a lot of people back in the day. You talking about labor. And we lost a lot of our lives bringing that labor. But we're not going that far back because now we come into our future. And that's what I'm trying to say with culture. We got to understand where we came from and where we're trying to go in order for all of us on this earth, whether you black, green, yellow, purple.
Well, there is no green person. There is no yellow person.
There will be, because the way we adapting now, there will be. But my thing is, culturally, we all must sit at the table and get together and stop pointing the finger about the past. We all know what happened to the past. A lot of them don't know because nobody tells them that. And culturally, what it's supposed to stand for is that man, all women, supposed to take the change, to take the time to explain people You got to go to the background of understanding somebody to get to know them better. If you came from a rich family and you met a poor family, you would understand how they're living. Because you came from a different culture where everything was given to you. And that's the kind of culture I'm trying to say today with our youngsters that we're losing. They come from nothing, so they don't think they deserve nothing. If you come from something, you still gonna be in there thinking you're gonna get something. So it's not about pointing the finger about what the slave master did and all this other stuff. It's about us getting together now. We're gonna get that.
Yes, yes, yes. And I perfectly understand exactly where Mr. Kevin is coming from. And a lot of times, we can't blame him for a lot of things because a lot of times we don't know, there's not one person that know everything, you know, but at the same time, we have a dialogue, we're talking. You could tell that we disagree with a lot of things, however.
Because we're from different eras.
Okay, and you could tell that we disagree with a lot of things. However, we feel really comfortable with sharing our disagreement with each other and sharing it with, of course, the public, you know. And I really appreciate that. Now remember, this is a live segment, 337-366-8951, and you could go ahead and you could just give us a call with what you wanted to explain. Now, Kevin, you also mentioned about the different races. So my understanding is that you've been involved. You have friends of every
From different all cultures. All I mean, and we all the same. It's just we got different environment. But if we come together, we understand each other without the racial tension or putting the color in it. But if we keep on bringing the past of what was done, then how are we going to get to the next level of finding the solution to those so-called problems? Because just as many whites who don't understand blacks, there's a lot of blacks who don't understand whites. And if you don't understand something, then you ask. And that's what I'm trying to say today, that, you know, my grandmother never sat me down and told me where she came from, what she had to do. I saw all the things she done and did. And today these youngsters don't know what our ancestors went through to give them a better life that they throwing away now. So we don't sit down as parents, uncles, aunts, and tell them where this family came from, then they're going to always be lost. But we don't want to so-called go back to the past. Well, never forget your past in order for you to get to the future. But none of these kids today understand what the past is. Because I hear a lot of parents today saying, oh, I ain't going to let my child do bad. Your child 21, that's not a child no more. You got to learn to let go. I mean, we the only animals, I keep saying that, on this planet who can't adapt to nothing. All the rest of the animals adapting, except the humans, because we so-called smart. We got more technology now, and we going so far backwards. You know, we invest in phones and everything else, but we're not going to invest in cultural experimenting with each other or getting together. Every weekend in Louisiana, they got some kind of festival. Whether it's Boudin Frog, whatever, any kind of animal, it's a festival. But you don't see a race festival, getting to understand each other's culture. Yes, you're probably going to say, oh, the Festival of Kirian. That's really not no cultural experience, because they bring in different countries in, not the same people living in your town next to you, to try to understand them better.
Okay, yes, indeed. So, well, you know, we're going to be having like the Festival International. Now, they brings people from all over the world, and you get a chance to try out their food. You get a chance to listen to their music. It's like a free concert and everything. That's bringing culture together.
But it's not making you understand the culture. We're bringing them together to listen to the music. It's bigger than the music. You know, we don't try to figure out how this music was created by them. It's a feeling inside that, you know, they coming from countries that's worse than our country right now, because we getting on the ball where we going to that same country that we bringing in, third world. But we don't try to find out what's going on in their mind. And when they come to our country and say, damn, I thought our country was bad, but this country is going over the mountain.
Okay, all right. Again, understanding our culture. Please call us if you have any comment or question at 337-366-8951. Now, music have always brought people together from each and every diaspora around. Music has always been that center point that brought people together. And I think this idea, I believe, like with the Festival International, you know, they have music from all over the world. One of the problems that I feel with, and a lot of others do with the Festival International, is a lot of time they don't try to highlight their local talent. You know, they'll bring somebody all the way from Spain to come down here, but then you have someone like a little Farley, a little Runt. You have well, it's Uncle Farley right now, but you have Lisa, you have Casarina, you have all of this fine talent that we have right here in Louisiana that should be highlighted too, so that other people could see, you know, how good the music is. And that's one of the biggest downfall that I have, you know, with the Festival International. We had this young lady who from I can't think, Rosie Ledette, a superb singer, you know. And she can sing, and she sings all around the world and everything. The Festival International has been in existence for over 20-something years and Rosie Ledette may have played only twice. You know, so you have people like that they should learn how to bring forward into our community.
The local little clubs doing that. And Festival International, you hear the international is not our little local talent, because a lot of them shouldn't be singing, because I done heard a lot of their stuff. They only got a few. And you see, I'm critical because I can say that about whether you're black, white, Asian. If your stuff not good, it's not good. And that's what we can't tell the truth, because they trying to get in, but you got to have something that's going to hit the crowd. Not just your family, or not just the people that's your same color. You got to have something that touches everybody, because I listen to grunge, punk rock, everything. If it got a message in it, no matter what it is, whether they're playing a electric guitar or whatever, if it have a message, I listen to it. And most of my black friends who come in, I'm listening to a rock, be like, man, what's wrong with you? And that's showing me that they don't understand that, because when you got to ask somebody what's wrong with them because of the music they listen, you already done block yourself out of trying to get the lesson.
And right here locally, I mean, even from Laurelville, you have Tucker out from Laurelville, Louisiana.
But Tucker price didn't went up too high. I mean, that's why nobody want him. I mean,
you have Roy Anthony Chip. You know, right now he's working with Keith Sweat. That's right there from Laurelville. I mean, just the pocket of entertainers that we have here, you know, it would just surprise you how well they are. You know, Donna Angel, right there out in Breaux Bridge, Louisiana. You know, Donna is renowned. You know, Donna should be getting paid to play at the Festival International, you know. However, it doesn't happen, you know, and I guess it will never happen unless people.
A lot of little white bands out here not being played at the festival. It's not, you see, what it all boils down, we go right back to the racial stuff. And that's what I be trying to put the finger on. When we feel some of these artists, because they're here, should be on that stage. Well, half the people that's in Lafayette and Louisiana done heard some of these people. They haven't heard the people that's coming from a poor country that's making so much great music that's touching more than their people. It's the music, it's not the lyrics, because we don't understand nothing they're saying, but the music they playing, giving you the feeling that they having. So you're assuming the words they saying by the music and the way they playing it. That's what gets me when I come to the festival. And I like the foreigners and all that, because I don't understand none of the stuff they're saying, but I understand the music. The music they playing is like a word. It gets to you. It's a feeling. And that's why the Acadian and the International and all of them festivals don't get invited. But they have a lot of these Zydeco artists be heard on Thursday and Friday for prep.
Yes, okay. And the other sister, Connie Garrett, Connie Garrett, Connie G. Connie G has some tonsils on her. I mean, she's just so good. And then she brought in her little young sister, Hot Tamale Baby, who also is a fantastic performer, a singer. I mean, and she do rap. So all of these different type of mixtures that we have here in Southwest Louisiana, that's all inclusive of what the Festival International would be about, being inclusive of showing some of your local talent. Now, I think if it's not Lil Nathan, but I think Lil Nate has played over and over. The other young artist, what's his name?
But it's internationally that people want to hear, and it's internationally that you pick the people that majority of the people want to hear, not these little artists that you're talking about. They want to hear a bigger that hits every race. And I understand that. But what you're trying to create is saying that all of them should be on a stage somewhere, which they be at these little clubs. I mean, if somebody wants to go see them, they can go pay too much money for them and go see them. But my thing is bringing in other countries that's poured in ours to show the great music and the talent, and you can hear the culture inside their music, not their words, inside the music. It's what brings people together. And
another thing that we need to touch base on, and I'm trying to tie it in with our topic, understanding our culture. And you have, like, right here in New Iberia, Louisiana, the sheriff, who is Sheriff Acker, who is I'm trying to use a cleanup word about him, even though he's a no good sheriff. That particular sheriff out in New Iberia, Louisiana, just got through from having they had killed the young man dog, and so out of this killing of the dog, the police officers, they receive either $90-something thousand for the killing of the dog. When you had this other young man who was brutally beaten and killed by the New Iberia Police Department, Michael Jones. Michael Jones' family received only $60,000. So trying to tie this in with understanding our culture, understanding corrupt politics simultaneously, all of that is inclusive of trying to expose some of the filth that our area has to offer.
But the sheriff is no dirtier than the system who allow him to be the sheriff. So it's bigger, why I'm talking about culture is because we allowing all this. And they got a bunch of blacks who got alphabets behind their name who don't represent nothing but the cash and the dollar.
Okay.
That's the ones I'm talking about too, culturally. If you forgetting where you come from because you got a little degree and all that, and you think everybody deserve what they getting, then something wrong with you. Because not everybody got that opportunity like you did. But if you're not giving back or sharing, then you part of that problem with the system, because you done got bought out. And that's what I try to tell people: never sell yourself. We got a crackhead council member. I don't care what he smoke or what he do your job. But I only call that out when he's not doing his job. Now, if he'd have been doing his job, I don't care what kind of person he is. Do your job you got hired for. Don't sell for yourself. They putting tags on everybody's houses in New Iberia except his family house that's leaning. Where if his house leaning and the other person's house still standing straight, but because he on the board, why his house don't get torn down like the rest?
Well, you know what, Mr. Kevin, there are how many other councilmen that
Only one in our district.
Well, you know,
And that's
that's,
the one I can talk about because I voted for him.
okay, all right.
And my vote does count.
Okay, all right, your vote do count, but at the same time, he's only one, he can only do so much.
He took the job.
Whether,
If I say I can cut somebody's hair and I can't cut it, then I'm responsible. You paying me to cut your hair and I mess you up, then I owe you some money plus. Don't take a job if you can't do it. Because your family was in politics and all that doesn't mean you qualified for that. And that's what I'm saying about culturally. We got to stop letting, no matter what color, you know, blacks will be like, well, damn, man, he black. Why he not doing his job? Whether, you know, it doesn't matter what color. Do your job. Fight for the people who put you in there. And I'm one of those who will tell you if you're doing something wrong, no matter what, because I can't be bought. And we get this family in our color. Yeah, but man, he black, man, you're not happy. No, like I said, it doesn't matter about the color. It's about doing your job. And a lot of people get mad, like, man, give him a chance. Okay, he got a chance. What are you doing? Nothing but telling lies from what the people telling him to tell us.
well, Mr. Kevin, those seem like some internal problems. Seem like to me you need to either meet with.
I meet with him every day. What I'm telling you, I tell him. So if I can't tell him that, what I'm telling you that for, or the public. People, you don't understand. That's how we get our tongues cut out. Because what we're supposed to do and say at the time, we don't do it. Look, the other day I'm sitting at the DMV and one of my coaches who are into politics was talking about the shooting and the killings in New Iberia. And I'm like, you sure you want to know what's going on in New Iberia and why they're shooting? Like, well, what's going on, man? I said, we let a sheriff go who was a murderer. So these kids see that and they go on gun sprees. It's not the gun you blame, it's the person using the gun.
That's
but if you
correct.
illiterate and don't know nothing about a gun, then you're going to use it in the wrong way, thinking you done something right. So as I'm speaking to him, a white guy comes up, one of his friends, where he changed the subject
Okay.
because he didn't want to let the white guy hear what we was talking about. You know, I lost so much respect for that guy that day because he came in and on what we was talking about. Let's finish it. So I'm telling him about the sheriff and all that, and the white guy listening and saying that he'd been having gunshots in his mama neighborhood. And I'm like, well, you ought to be thankful because we used to have gunshots a couple of years ago. Now we're having murders. Those bullets hitting people. And the thing is, if we would have showed the public that we stand for no tolerance with the sheriff, then the children who using the guns now would have been listening. So if you can't talk what you preach, then don't do it. But right after the white guy left the conversation, Coach said, nah, man, it's all them inmates we done let out of prison. And I looked at him and I said, no, that's not what done happened. These kids been shooting before these inmates got out. I said, some of them inmates, that's some of their children. This system took them children out of their life. So if that man would have been in their life, they probably wouldn't have as much killing as they did. So it's not about the prison the prisoners we let out, it was about the system doing this to this family. Because every time you take something out of somebody's family, something is a reaction to it. You know, they didn't have a father figure and they mad at the system. So what they gonna do, go take it out on their street, not knowing better. So that's why I talk about those black people who other blacks who in for politics refuse to talk about. I don't have no friends when it comes to doing something right. Because if my brother who on drugs doing something wrong, I'll be the one to turn him in. And the rest of my family will be mad. Like, that's your brother, man. Well, what's different than him than the other people that's doing the same thing? And that's where the culture start to divide, because back when I came up, when grandmother told you something, it wasn't about going and talk to your mama. Grandmother's word was bond. And if grandmother didn't want to have nothing to do with you, family didn't want to have nothing to do with you. So when we started allowing this breakup behind cultural, that's when we started having the problems. You know, everybody's scared to discipline their children now. Mm-hmm. But when the cops come, they get even more afraid. Well, call the cops and tell them, look, I'm about to whip my child, send a unit. Don't beat them.
Right. Kevin, we're going to get back to your comments. Caller, you have a question or comment for Mr. Kevin or myself?
Yes, I have a comment. I see that your show is entitled Understanding Our Culture. And I would believe that subtitle is reflecting on the culture of everybody that exists in our community, whether it's black, white, Asian, or Mexican. But at the same time, I'm coming to understand that for me to understand any of the culture or the traditions that resides in our community, we got to understand why these cultures was basically established. And my understanding of the division and the separation of the different ethnic groups that resides in the same community stems from American culture. And when I say American culture, when you talk about the relationship, and we have to deal with ethnic groups, when we talk about the relationships of both black and whites, we have to go back and understand why is blacks is economically disenfranchised. Why is blacks
Yes.
is spiritually regressing, or why is whites is perpetuating this culture of political disenfranchised or economic disenfranchised on another people. If we go back into slavery, we have to deal with that because this is the experiences of African Americans here. We have to go back to that past to understand why our relationship of division is established here in America. We as black people was considered as subhuman, first and foremost, by a culture that perpetuates white supremacy. We know that. We've seen it in our religious display of the children of God. We see it where and we know that religion played a role in it. Because when we look at God, we see God as a Caucasian with blue eyes. We didn't see God with a black face and nappy hair. You know, we have to look at that. We have to look at our experience through the Middle Passage from West Africa to the Americas. We have to look at the millions of blacks that died by the cultural mentality of another people. We have to look at where blacks were denied equal access to trains, to waters, to restaurants, to housing here in America under the disguise of Jim Crow. We have to look at the history of the civil rights movement. And we're talking about recent history here in the 60s and 70s where blacks was denied equal pay, equal housing, equal representation. We have to look at that to understand our culture. And when I, again, talk about our culture, I'm talking about the culture of both black, white, Asians, and Latinos here in America. We cannot deny that, yes, we want to be kumbaya. We want to sit down around a bonfire and say that we love each other. But that's not the culture of America. That's not the culture of America. The culture of America right now, we look at the prison system, for instance. We know that 60% of the inmates in both state and federal prison is comprised of African American.
That's correct.
Although we are the minority here in America.
Yes.
You know.
And
so
thank you,
I just
caller.
understand. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so very much. The caller bring up some viable
Yeah,
points.
but first of all, you know, who drew God first? The white man or the black man? We don't ask those questions. So the white man got the rights to draw God any color he want or put any kind of hair he want. So we look at those small little issues and make them out of problems.
Well, Kevin, we're going to do this dialogue right, okay? You asked who drew God first.
Correct.
Okay.
Because black folks, when I watch all the slave movie, didn't know about God until a white man came and showed him God. Okay?
Oh,
All I'm saying is, throughout history, who wrote the Bible? It wasn't a black man.
well,
So the man who was drawing and writing have the right to put what he
Well,
want to write
okay.
or what pictures he wants you to see.
okay.
Now
Well,
it's your job to envisionary yourself, not the white God or the words he putting, and put what you want in your life. See, what I'm trying to say culturally, the caller brought up all the right questions and everything else, but will we put the right answer?
Okay.
Or put a racist answer? Which one?
well, you know what? When you're talking about self-pride, it's no way that I should be able to go to an all-black church and I'm seeing blue-eye, long blonde-haired Jesus.
But where does
You
the
know-
money go to when you give your tithes?
Okay.
To that white.
Right.
All right then.
All right. All right. That's a lack of respect for self. You know. But however,
All you had to do was walk out of the church when you saw the white man with blue eyes and go to find your church that got a black man with green eyes.
however, when-
Choices.
However, when you go to the federal court, when you go, like, say you go to the federal court building, and or the court building in general, that heifer that's in that all white stature that's supposed to be blind. She don't see any color and stuff. It's an all white stature. It's huge.
Well, at the time, black folks didn't
And-
have law degrees, so it was
and-
all white folks tending to black folks. So the law was made for the black folks back in the day. So you got to understand the era of the drawing and who was the artist, who was following the rules of the person who wanted that painted,
And
paid by the colored people.
okay, that was going to be my point exactly. You know, when the caller brought in about the majority of black folks are incarcerated, you know,
By choice or by system?
we're going to go ahead and say, what's factually, and that's
And that's what I'm saying, by
uh,
choice or by system.
Well, it would be by system, Kevin.
But who
because
runs the
no-
system? I'm not disagreeing with you. Who runs the system?
We know who run the
No,
system.
no, tell the public. A lot of them don't know who run the system.
Johnny run the system. Mr. Field runs
Well,
the
okay
system.
then, until
Mr.
we get the
Angel
right
runs the system.
person of color or person of non-color in there
Yeah.
to see the law for what it is and not what they want it to be, that's the only way we're going to get change. But we cannot change by crying over what color Jesus' eyes was, because I ain't never met Jesus and I never met the devil. So I don't believe in God. I do believe that people that's living have the godly thing to do and what is right.
Well, you ain't never met Jesus, but I do believe you done met the devil some kind of way.
Well, he never told me nothing bad if I did meet him because he can't get in my mind.
Right. But it's showing that we don't have identity. Whenever you could see, you're going into a church that's taxpayers' dollars and everything, and every statue on the
Is
wall.
anybody forcing you to go to that
is-
church?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not going to go, Kevin. But I'm just talking, hypothetically with what you actually do see, and for what reason? Why they don't have, Jesus in your form or God the way we should see it.
No, it's not their job to make you see God for who he is. It's your job to see the God that lives in you. We don't need a church to pray. We don't need a building to pay funds. We need to, this is my tithes. If I know something that you need to know, that's my tithes, I'm gonna tell you. And what I'm doing on this little show here, I'm not getting paid. I'm missing out on money, but it's not about the money, it's about the message to those people who think nothing can happen for them. But when you close your mouth and not say nothing, when you see something, you part of it. From churches, preachers, judges, sheriffs, we allow them to treat us like we nobody because they read a book that we didn't. That don't mean they smarter than us, but if we make ourselves think they are, then they are. Because when you talk about the court system, I didn't witness a lot of people take plea bargains, knowing they didn't do this.
That's right. You're right.
No, I'm just trying to tell you, you know, how we block ourselves with the real thinking for the little simple stuff.
Caller, Mr. Kevin was on the roll. You have a question? Go ahead.
Good evening, my sister, and good evening, Mr. Kevin. Unfortunately, I cannot hear what Mr. Kevin is saying. I'm pretty sure it was good because the audio coming on the New Iberia feed on Cox Cable is totally off. Maybe some unknown forces are doing that.
Well, she was talking about the sheriff, so they shut the audio off.
Yeah, because they knew Mr. Kevin was coming. So that's what, but I want to bring in this point, and see, I must apologize. I couldn't hear the show, but I want to support the show. I just want to ask this question, Brother Kevin or Sister Khadijah, what y'all think about this as far as our culture when it comes to our people holding people who are engaged in wrongdoing, holding them accountable. And you know, there's a show on AOC called Holding Them Accountable, and we know what that's about. That person who was,
Rev News.
You know, say the star of the show, he was never he was being held accountable, but he don't want to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, we know where that goes. Well, you know, there was recently a couple of articles in the newspaper, weekly newspaper, online newspaper called the Louisiana Voice. I urge anybody listening who could hear or maybe in the LUS they could hear what we're saying, to get that article and read how in New Iberia Parish Sheriff, how the tale of two lawsuits being settled. One was for $61,000 for Mike Jones, and the other one was the case of a dog being shot by an Iberia Parish Sheriff deputy who was killed, and it was settled for $75,000. Now, for me, there should be some outrage, even if you want to take the race about it, you know, a black man dying compared to an animal, a dog dying. There still should be some outrage by the community fathers, by the elected officials, that a person's life is worth less than a dog, in the sense that how much damages can you get in a courtroom for a dog compared to a person dying, like Mike Jones died, almost like he was in a Iraqi war prisoner. If you look at the pics that our sister had in so many previous shows, short of that issue. So I want to get y'all's opinion on that. And like I said, I apologize, Mr. Kevin. I can't hear the show really in New Iberia. They blanked it out. I don't know what's going on.
I apologize for that because we speaking some good
I'm
word.
gonna stay on the phone and see if I can get an answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear us when you get off? Would you let us know?
I can't hear y'all now because
Yeah, to answer your question, look when the cats out here in Lafayette and all over was getting murdered, they had a big investigation on that. So technically, it's letting you know that animals are more important and have more rights than humans.
Exactly. That's what I'm seeing all over the place. They passed the legislation.
Well,
you know how crazy this Louisiana legislature is? They actually voted 20-10. Good thing is the 20 people prevailed to not have human beings that have sex with animals. And
well, they got a couple of them doing that too, but you know, if they get caught, they will be rapists and put in for life.
Explanation, Brother Kevin, that well, you know, the bill was much more complicated than that. So people were trying to figure out why the Kent would not even vote in favor of getting putting something in place to outlaw people from having sex with animals. But one of those legislators was from Iberia Parish, one of the state representatives from Generate. So that tells you a lot about the mindset of you people who represent us in Baton Rouge, let alone Washington, D.C. I just want to make those points. Great show. I can't hear you guys, but I'm going to continue to support you.
Yeah, and we're going to try to get the audio going. But the thing is, we as humans right now, we're allowing all our rights to go because I'm speaking up. How many other people tell what they see or know? You know, people say, well, you can't tell what's going on. Yeah, I'm telling you my life and what's going around it. That's the truth. And that's facts to me, not opinions. You know, if you don't come stay in my hood where I'm at and seeing what I'm seeing, then you cannot tell me, go get an expert to come back there to realize what's happening. And that's the problem that we have in the day with our cultural people, that we're not putting our cultural techniques of telling the truth about our family. And if we keep getting lied to, then we gonna always want to lie and not the truth. Because when people, we had some white reporters came in about 2 weeks ago, and we was telling them a couple of stories about what was happening. And they was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Well, I wish I could feel the way you feel." And she's like, "What you mean?" Like, we hear this every day. It's natural for us. It takes foreigners to come feel what we going through or try to understand it, and still don't realize what's really going on. And you want to blame the people, but it's the system that's creating the people to be angry and mad. And it trickles down. We're looking at the little sheriff who's doing everything, but there's people over his head who can do something, who refuse to do it because they're not spending money for him. We spending the money. Every day you're looking at the news and you're seeing, oh, we can't afford this, but you're building schools, you're building all kind of streets, but you can't afford educational system. And that's mean the teachers, not the building, because the teachers are the one who are really teaching, not the building and how pretty the school look or how much it costs. But we waste money on stuff like that.
Carly, you have a question or a comment?
Yes, good evening, Sister Khadijah, and good evening, Mr. Kelvin.
Hey, how you doing,
Mr. Kelvin,
brother?
when y'all bring this program on, I just happened to pick it up, and I didn't get it at the beginning. But man, the part that I did get with you and Sister Khadijah,
to put in a full shot.
Mr. Kelvin, you're right on time. We celebrating, we going through the commemoration of 50 years of Dr. King and the assassination, And today we have Negroes selling Negroes out. And if you don't believe that, you got election coming up. And when these elections going to come up, these Negroes are going to be running to these folks for the highest bidder to see who would give them the most money to get us to vote for them. Well, I'm not for sale no more. At one time before I was aware of what was going on, yes, you were selling my people. But now I am not going to allow those to be selling my people out for crumbs. They're not bringing nothing to the table. You understand me? So we could get things in our community. It's all about how many dollars you're going to put in my pocket. And once they get the money in their pocket, nobody else get anything. And these elected officials is not really working for them. They're working against them.
Right.
So, again, I commend you for bringing I could say this is the raw deal, You're bringing out the raw. You're telling it like it is. And until we change the condition of us, the condition will never change. It's going to keep going in the circle over and over again because we was taught fear through religion.
Yes.
We was taught to fear Jesus. But they don't know. Jesus wasn't a punk like they try to make him be. Jesus was a mighty, mighty man. He was so tall you can't go over him. He was so wide you can't go around him. And he planted so deep you can't go under him. So now, that's the Jesus that all these people running to church on Sunday morning should be praising, not the one that they're looking to sit next to in church. And when they leave the church, they leave him sitting right there. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a blessed day.
You too.
Okay, you too. Thank you so much, my brother. And he made some good points too. One thing that with the election is on the 28th. You have elections that's all over Southwest Louisiana, and people need to know if you are a convicted felon. You can still vote. If you have done all of what you needed to do when it comes down to your paperwork, you can still go out and vote. And you need to vote. You need to vote because the state of Louisiana, we have over 77,000 over 77,000 convicted felons that have done their time, paid what they needed to pay, that are eligible to vote, that can't vote. However, those of you that know that your record is clean and you know you've paid all of your contributions, you need to be voting. And then when you go to the voting polls, if you don't have identification, all you have to do is and they would tell you, you could fill out either a affidavit. If not, then there's a few questions that they will ask you, you know, to identify who you actually are. Like, what's your mother's maiden name? You know, everybody should know that.
Well, I barely know my mom's maiden name.
Well, I don't blame her. I mean, I could understand why she wouldn't want.
But it don't stop me from not voting, you know. And I tell everybody, don't run from a question, run to it.
Okay.
Because, and that's the problem that we get. You know, culturally, when voting was right for blacks to do, you saw a line 2-3 miles trying to vote.
Yes.
Today, the line can be 10 people. Oh, man, that's too long. But yet still you run back in the street, and then when you see something happening, you complain. Okay, Black Panther came out. I was a critic to it. You know, we didn't need another black hero, and I didn't understand why the blacks was running to it and all that. Well, I went to see the movie. I was waiting on bootleg, but it took too long. But I went to see the movie, and it had the best message in it. We all Black Panthers. We don't need somebody to tell us what we need to be doing. That's what I caught out the movie. But to all those black folks who rented movie theaters and gave people rides and made it a bus affair, the same thing you did to make Black Panther #1, you can do it for voting. Charter some buses to pick people up. Cater to them, because their vote do count. But if you don't sit there and help them, then how you expect the voting count to go back up? And this is why they passing all kind of new taxes on us. We complain every day about, we don't want to pay taxes, and then the next moment you see, the tax didn't pass. Why? Because you didn't go vote against it. Mm-hmm. So not voting was for it. And that's what you're not understanding, that the system done read us culturally. They done studied us like lab rats.
Yeah.
You know, like I say, the animals have more rights than humans now because they got people who fight for that. But lately, we haven't been fighting for nothing. But let a black get shot by a white cop. You see the Black Lives Matter. You see all these black folks come and get attention. How about when a black shoot a black? Let's complain just as much as one white shooting a black.
Well, Kevin, you know what? I think you need to take some water. I think you need to take a drink, because of the simple fact, we paid that police officer to protect and serve. And when that police officer don't protect and serve, then it's a reason for that. But when you have these young men who, for some apparent reason, continue to like kill each other, I mean, they're not no paid profession.
So culturally, the white cop who coming in a black neighborhood and heard all kind of story, you heard that culturally, right? That all blacks are animals. And they coming in there, you hearing how they shooting each other. You're not going with your gun on point? Afraid? But if you don't understand them, and that's why we talking about this, if you don't understand culturally the next person next to you, then you lost. But being that you got that gun and you got that badge and you got the system backing you, then you go in there and you do what you want.
Just like there's black on black crime, there's white on white crime, there's Vietnamese on Vietnamese crime, there's Hispanic
but not as much as black on
crime.
black, and I'm black, and I can say that. We got to stop comparing the past and what's happening and try to understand how to solve the solution. And we got the solution,
Well, Kevin,
but half of us don't want to do it because, I don't want to hurt nobody. I don't want them to feel like I'm against them. I don't want...
Yes, and of course, this is a live segment defending our community, understanding our culture. You have Mr. Kevin, who has his own views, and he's solely responsible for his own views.
But it's my life. It's my facts.
There have been those of us that have continuously, behind the scene, try to help Mr. Kevin understand different things. But as you can see, you know, he is that one way and that one way alone.
No, it's the way that I live and what I see. I cannot change what you're allowed to get in your life, right? Right? Because every problem has a solution. It's up to you to take the solution and present it instead of complaining about it. What my solution is, I'm talking about it because I'm willing to do it. That's the difference between talking and doing. I don't want to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. And that's what we're not teaching the children today, culturally. How our parents couldn't read or write, but learn how to survive and manage. Gave them half an education, and they took that and put their child in college. Then their child go to college, and half of them forget where they came from and not give back. That's your ties. Not money, that's your ties. If every church would contribute $1 back to their neighborhood, you wouldn't see the shooting and crime that you're having in the poverty area. But the churches today is a business. You know, they'll come after you if you don't pay your tithes that weekend. They don't care if you're sick or didn't work that week. God wants his money. And like I tell the church that's across my street that always invite me to come, well, when you talk to God, tell him come tell me that he want me at his church and I'll go. Other than that, I'm not taking a word from somebody who's supposed to be a messenger.
Yes.
So when you first started, you was talking about the patterns.
Okay, and yes, indeed, I know this is a powerful edition of our program, and of course, we want to thank everybody that's been participating and have called in. Mr. Kevin, you have like maybe 1 minute to give your closing comment, and what would you like to see, sir?
My closing comment is, if you're not part of the solution, you are the problem. And black folks, stop complaining about white folks. White folks, stop thinking about black folks complaining about white folks. And I'm talking to those who thinking like I'm just saying they thinking. But until we solve our own problems, those people have nothing to do with our lives. But we are the change, not them. But we got to show our children how to stand up for what's right and not wrong.
Yes. Yes, and what I would like to say in closing is that we all are children from God, goddesses, whatever you want to claim at this time. And it's really, really important that our young people learn how to do something constructive with their time instead of fighting, killing, and everything. So we want to send a message out to those that are in a dispute with someone to please put down the gun, pick up some brain cells, and
Pick up a book. And if you can't read, ask your neighbor to read it for you.
Okay, learn how to love someone. We want to thank you so very much. Thank you, Mr. Kevin. You was